What's going on, guys? Mr. Domo here, back at it again. So I hope everybody's having an awesome day. And so today I just wanted to talk about this whole new second chance refusal policy by Collector Archive Services. As you can see, I'm at their webpage here, and if you go over to their homepage and then go over to the submission tab and scroll down on their submenu to the refusal policy, you'll see their new updated refusal policy, which are calling it now the Collector Archive Services second chance refusal policy. So let me just explain about this whole refusal policy before. So if you're new to grading or thinking about grading, so what happened before, right now it's still the same for AFA, but now Collector Archive Services is doing this. But before all of this, what happened was, when you send in an item to get graded, and let's just say you send in an item and either to AFA or Collector Archive Services, and they during their inspection, whatever, they figure they find out that the blaster or the accessory, whatever, is a reproduction. Then what happens is that item gets refused. They don't contact you via email or any of that. They just whenever your items are due back, they send it back to you, and then that's when you find out that the item gets that was refused. They still charge you 100%, and pretty much that's it. So with AFA, they usually put like a little sticky note on the figure and let you know why it's refused. And then Collector Archive Service is a little bit more professional about it. They actually give you a label, and it'll have like an R on it, and it'll say why it was refused, and it'll tell you, it'll still identify the figure and tell you what kind of figure, but they'll still say why it got refused. And again, they'll still charge you 100% for the grading cost. So now what Collector Archive Services is doing is they're doing this second chance refusal policy. So what they're going to do is there's two main categories to this. So you have fixable refusal, and then you have a non-fixable refusal. So let me go to this fixable refusal. So what's going to happen is you have a couple of choices here when an item is being refused for grading. So what's going to happen is they'll contact you via email and let you know the reason why it's being refused. From there, you're going to have a couple options. One, you could go ahead and they'll give you the time to locate whatever item that needs to be fixed. So I would assume that this is going to be mostly with the accessories. So let's just say you send in a Kenner Star Wars Boba Fett with the with the blaster, and the blaster ends up being a reproduction. They'll contact you, let you know, hey, your item's being refused because the blaster is a reproduction item. They'll let you know, hey, we'll give you the time to go ahead and relocate that item, and then we'll go ahead, you send it to us, and then they'll grade it, and then boom, you're done. Two, you could tell them, go ahead and grade it, and then they'll go ahead and grade it, but what's going to happen is it's going to go under a different kind of category of grading, and I'll go more into details on that. Third option is you could say, forget it, just send the item back to me, and what they're going to do is they're going to give you 50% credit on the grading cost. So that's really great, and that's their second chance credit. So they're going to give you 50% of the grading cost back to you. Well, they're going to give you as a credit, but that gives you another chance to go ahead and resend the figure maybe on a later time, or maybe you want to send something else to get graded, and now you have that that credit there. So that's really, really great. And so what's going to happen with this whole fixable refusal, you have a couple of they kind of put a couple of scenarios here. So one, the figure could be incomplete. So let's just say you send in a Boba Fett and you forgot the blaster, and they're like, hey, you know what, we can't grade this because it's incomplete. So you can say, you know what, I got the blaster, let me send it to you. Or you could say, hey, go ahead and grade it anyways. Or you could say, give it back to me, and I'll take the second chance credit. So you have that option. Another thing, of course, like I talked about before, reproduction items. So if it's a reproduction item, they'll contact you and say, hey, would you like to locate a real one, or would you like this to grade it, or just send it back to you and you get your credit. So that's really awesome. Another one too, of course, they have the touch-up. So if there's any paint touch-ups or like hidden flaws, like let's say you bought it from somebody who was trying to hide some flaws and they touched it up with some paint, and that happens a lot, then they could go ahead and grade it. But again, that's going to be going into a different category, and I'll go into those categories later on. So you have that, and that's mostly, I'm talking about loose graded stuff. Here they're talking about items that are resealed. So anything that's like mostly resealed, I would say boxes, boxed items. So let's just say like, you know, Hasbro Star Wars, you know, Black Series figures, you know, that are boxed. So let's just say you bought it from somebody who resealed it and you didn't know that, and you send it in to get it graded. Well, they'll let you know, and then they could go ahead and grade it, you know, that way, or just send it back to you. So you have a couple options there, or grade it loose, and I'll get into that later. Again, when it comes to carded figures, it's the same way with the bubble. So if the bubble has cracks or holes, or a baggy, let's say you have a loose baggy figure and it has cracks, or not cracks, but it has holes or tears, or it's resealed, because that happens too, then they'll contact you and let you know, hey, we could grade it loose, or we could go ahead and grade it, you know, a different way in a different scale. So I'll go into that later on. And then of course at the bottom here we have the non-fixable refusal reasons, and this is pretty much, like I said, like this is where they can't fix it. There's no way they're gonna fix it. So let's just say the whole Boba Fett action figure is a whole reproduction figure, then they'll say, you know what, we're gonna send it back to you. Or let's just say that the limbs were glued back or something like that, then it's just something that they can't fix or you could fix, and so they'll just get it, they'll send it back to you. But the good part is you're gonna get that second chance credit, so you'll get that 50% of the grading costs back to you. Well, not back to you, but as, you know, as kind of store credit. So that's really good. I like that. I really like that, because right now AFA doesn't have that. They don't have this whole second chance thing. Like if it's refused, that's it. You just lost whatever amount you paid for the grading cost. So let me go into the different scales that they have for grading these items, because this is going to be interesting. So of course, you know, they're just in this one right here, what they archive, of course, you know, they do loose, they do carded, they do box, and then they go into like the different types of boxed items. So here here you have, you know, the three kind of main categories that if an item gets refused, or, you know, let's just say they're like, hey, you know, this item's gonna get refused, how do you want to proceed, then there's these three different kind of categories where those items could be graded as. So you have a Q, which is a qualified category. Now this is mainly for box items. So if you have like a box item, and let's just say that it's still complete, but it was open and it's not completely sealed, then they can't give it a full-on grading scale, so they're going to give it a Q score, which is a qualified scale. And pretty much what they'll do, if it's complete, they'll go ahead and give it a Q, and then they'll go ahead and grade it. Now if it's missing some stuff and it's a box item, then they'll kind of give you the option to go ahead and grade it as loose. So the option is going to be on you on what you want to do. The archive category, now this one's mostly for, let's just say, you know, you send in that Boba Fett and the blaster's no good, and you're like, you know what, just grade the figure on, or just preserve the figure on its own, then they'll archive it for you. But it won't get a letter, it won't get a number grade. They'll just give you an A grade, which is archived. And what they'll do now is that they're going to give you a 5% discount on the cost to preserve it. So that's really awesome. That is really good that they're just going to give you a small discount, at least, you know, because it's not fully getting graded. It's just going to be preserved into their case, which is really awesome. The last one here, the preserved category. Now this is interesting because this is like, let's just say you have a carded Boba Fett figure, but the card back is just badly beat up. Now you could send it in like that, or you could do a cut card, which it's kind of being they're kind of really popular now, like I've noticed with collectors. So they'll pretty much cut around the bubble and then send it like that to get it graded. And so what they'll do is they'll put it as a P grade, so you'll have the P and then you'll have your grading number, and the grading number is really going to be on the figure itself. So what they'll do is they'll go ahead and encase it, you know, whatever, and then they'll still go ahead and they'll give it a grade for the figure just on its own. You know, obviously they're not going to apply that grade to the card back because the card back's destroyed, and so you'll get that P grade, which is really awesome. And then of course here it goes into details about, you know, because of the cut cards, they do have different sizes. So what they'll do, if they have to adjust it, they'll adjust it, and these are kind of like the adjustments there if you need to cut it, or if you're planning on cutting, you know, and making it into a cut card, if you want to grade it that way. The Uncirculated category, that, I mean, that's still nothing different. Of course, this is stuff that has to deal with, you know, things that are really like never been out on the retail, like it's never been sold on retail, like it's just straight from the factory. Then you could get that U grade, but again, this has to deal with completely untouched, unsold, kind of like into the market items. So most of these could get into that category, of the U grade category. But so those are all the different categories there, and of course, you know, they do offer the bubble protection here at the bottom. So like, let's say if you have a bubble that's kind of iffy, or I know some, I'm trying to think, I can't even think off the top of my head which one it is, but that has like a weak bubble seal. But you could opt into having a bubble protection where they do like a acrylic bubble protection over the bubble. I think it's very interesting, but yeah, it's definitely, they do that just in case, if you do have like a minty, you know, card back, but you know that over time that bubble is going to come out or whatever. If you want to add an extra additional protection for that bubble, you could go ahead and do that. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to let you guys know about this recent update. I think it's great. I think it's really good that they're you know, they're really thinking about collectors out there and their customers. And you know, if, like I said, if you're kind of like new to this and don't really understand the refusal policy, well, archive, you know, collector archive services now upgraded their refusal policy. Now they have this second chance, which is really good because it now gives you more options on how you want to proceed with that refusal item. And AFA, of course, if it's refused, it's refused, and you won't find out until you get your items back, which really sucks. But that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to share this news with you guys. Like I said, if you want to read it on your own, just go ahead and go to Collector Archive Services website. It's already posted there. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching. Thank you for support, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.